You don't need magic, you need meaning. Because when a woman speaks with truth, with timing, with power, she doesn't just get remembered, she gets felt. Let that settle in your chest for a second, my friends, because somewhere along the way you were sold a lie that to capture a man's attention, you had to play a role, be sweeter, be sexier, be everything but your actual self. They gave you scripts, tricks, tips, games, told you to smile a little more, text a little faster, act a little cooler. And yet here you are wondering why it still feels like you're invisible. You ever notice how some women say so much and still don't leave a mark? Meanwhile, another woman walks in, says one thing, and the whole room shifts. That's not magic, that's mastery. That's someone who knows the weight her words carry. And today, that's exactly what we're unlocking. And now before we go deeper, press that like button, hit subscribe, and do it for you, not for me. Because if you've ever felt like you were doing everything right, but still being overlooked, what we're about to unpack could be the shift you've been waiting for. Hey ladies, imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a quiet lake, smooth as glass. You toss in a tiny pebble, and even that small ripple moves across the whole surface. That's what the right words do. Not loud, not desperate, just intentional. A whisper that lingers long after you've walked away. But most women, they're throwing boulders, shouting into the void, trying too hard, saying too much, hoping something sticks, but it doesn't, because attention doesn't come from volume, it comes from vibration. Here's the truth, the unconscious mind, the place where attraction really lives, doesn't respond to logic. It responds to emotion, symbol, energy. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Well, guess what? The same thing goes for relationships. You don't make a man think about you by convincing him. You do it by activating something inside him, something unspoken. See, the problem isn't that you're not trying. The problem is that you've been using the wrong tools. You say, how's your day? He says, fine. You ask, what do? He gives a generic answer. And then nothing sticks, no spark, no imprint. Why? Because your words didn't break through the surface. And it's not your fault. You were taught to perform, not to connect. But that ends now. Because when you learn how to use words that land in the subconscious, when you understand when to say something, not just what to say, when you walk into a moment with calm confidence instead of nervous energy, that's when he feels you. That's when you become unforgettable. You don't need 100 clever lines. You just need 3 powerful words delivered with presence, with precision, with that grounded grace that makes a man stop, tilt his head slightly and think, wait, who is she? So stay with me, my friends, and because what I'm about to show you isn't pickup, it's poetry, and it's not manipulation, it's magnetism. And if you learn to speak with meaning, not just volume, you'll stop trying to chase love and start commanding attention. And let's go. Number 1, the mind doesn't remember words, it remembers energy. It's not logic that keeps you in someone's thoughts, it's impact. Write that on your mirror, my friends, because that's where everything begins. See, most women think they need to impress a man with the perfect line, the perfect question, the perfect version of themselves, polished, poised, performing. But the truth, he doesn't remember what you said. He remembers how you made him feel. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Now pause for a second, let that land, because when you speak to a man's unconscious, you're not just starting a conversation, you're shifting his emotional current. Let me paint it like this. Imagine you walk into a dark room filled with thousands of balloons. Each one has a word written on it. Hi, how's your day? What do you do? And floating among all of them, silent, weightless, is your voice, saying the same thing he's heard 100 times before. What happens? You disappear into the noise. Now imagine this instead. You walk into that same room, and instead of floating another balloon, you light a single candle. That one flame changes everything. It draws the eye. It creates warmth. It sets a mood. That's what the right energy does, and it doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be real. So many of you are afraid to speak with depth because you think it's too much. You worry he won't get it, that he'll think it's weird. You second guess yourself and fall back on safe words. Hey, what's up? Just checking in. Harmless? Maybe. Memorable? Never. You were never meant to be background noise, but you've been taught to blend in, to not shake the water, to stay polite. But men don't remember polite, they remember presence. Because when your words come from intention, when they paint a picture, suggest a story, carry an emotional pulse, you stop being that girl from the app or the woman he met once. You become a feeling he can't explain and doesn't want to forget. So from this moment forward, no more empty phrases, no more autopilot intros. From now on, your words carry weight. And stay with me, because next we're going to crack open the 3 words that don't just land, they linger. The ones that bypass his brain and go straight to memory. Let's keep going. Number 2, 3 words that change the game, you and me. It's not a pickup line, it's a mirror, a spark, a moment. Say it with me, my friends, you and me. Now that might sound too simple to change anything, but that's exactly why it works. Because sometimes the most powerful shift doesn't come from shouting. It comes from a whisper that lands in the right place. See, when you say you and me, you're not making a request. You're planting a picture, a little spark of story. You're speaking in the language of suggestion, not pressure, not demand, just possibility. And guess what? The male mind, especially his unconscious, is wired to respond to images, not instructions, emotion, not evaluation. Let's break this down like Denzel would if he was talking to his younger self in the mirror, and he'd say, son, it ain't about what you say, it's about what it evokes. And when a woman drops a phrase like you and me with calm confidence, you don't just hear it, you see it. Imagine this. He's sitting across from you. The energy is light, playful, and instead of saying, I like talking to you, you lean in with a smile and say, you and me could have dangerously good conversations. Boom, you didn't compliment him, you included him. You invited him into a shared moment that didn't exist until you spoke it into being. You and me, we'd win any argument, especially if we're on the same side. You see the difference? It's not a pitch, it's a scene. It paints him into a picture. A little flash of chemistry, a dose of play, a touch of intrigue, and I know what your mind might whisper. But won't he think I'm being forward? What if I sound corny? What if he doesn't say anything back? Listen closely, you're not saying it for a reaction. You're saying it to leave an impression. And that impression, it lingers. Because this isn't about control, it's about confidence. This is the kind of phrase that makes a man pause, not because he feels pressure, but because for the first time in a while, he feels potential. So the next time you're vibing with someone, don't go silent. Don't play it too safe. Drop the spark, drop the mirror, say it like it's nothing, say it like it's everything. You and me. It's not a line, it's a doorway. And where we're heading next, that's where the real timing comes in. Because just like a spark, if you drop it too early or too often, it won't ignite a thing. Stay with me. It's about to get even deeper. Number 3, this phrase isn't about control, it's about confidence. You don't chase attention, you command presence. Feel that one, my friends, because this is the turning point. See, you and me isn't a tactic. It's not some clever way to sneak into his mind. It's a reflection of how you see yourself. This phrase doesn't work because it's fancy. It works because when you say it with confidence, it tells the world, I'm not waiting to be chosen. I am the choice. Jung taught us that the unconscious is drawn to certainty, to symbolism. And when you speak with clarity, without hesitation, you become the symbol of certainty in a world full of question marks. Let's break it down. You ever hear someone say, do you want to hang out sometime? That's not confidence. That's permission seeking. It's like knocking on a door you already own the key to, but still asking if you're allowed in. Now flip it. You and me should try that spot downtown. That's not a question, that's presence, that's leadership, that's you setting the tone and trusting that if he's aligned, he'll lean in. Let me ask you this, do you want to be remembered as the woman who hesitated or the one who made him feel something real with just one line? Because here's the thing, energy doesn't lie. You can say all the right words, but if you say them like you're hoping they land, they won't. But say them like you know who you are. That's when his attention sharpens. That's when he looks at you like, okay, she's different. It's not about being loud, it's about being grounded, and it's not about being dominant. It's about being direct. That's what real feminine power feels like. It doesn't beg, it doesn't perform, it speaks with knowing. So stop asking for the invitation, start being the invitation. Because when you stop trying to prove you're worthy of connection and start speaking like someone who knows she is, that's when the dynamic shifts. That's when you stop getting ghosted and start being remembered. And what we're diving into next, timing, the moment where most women get this wrong, and how to make sure your confidence doesn't come off as pressure. Stay with me, it's about to get surgical. Number 4, your energy speaks before you do. Say the right thing with the wrong energy, and it dies before it lands. That's the truth most people don't want to admit, my friends, because it's not just about the words you speak, it's about the energy that carries them. You can say you and me 100 times, but if your eyes dart to the floor, your voice trembles, or your body screaming, "I hope this works," it won't. Energy doesn't lie. And long before a man hears your words, he feels your state. Carl Jung said, the body expresses what the soul cannot say. So let's talk about the body, because your presence walks into a room before your mouth ever opens. Imagine this, 2 women say the same thing. You and me would make a dangerous team, but one says it with her arms crossed, eyes looking down, voice shaky. The other calm, relaxed, holding eye contact just long enough to be felt, not forced. A half smile that says, "I'm good with or without your reaction." Same words, entirely different frequency. You know which one stays in his mind. Calm confidence is magnetic. Why? Because it's rare. Because most people don't know how to be. They only know how to perform. Your energy tells a man whether you're grounded or grasping. And let's be real. Desperation, even when dressed up pretty, is still desperation. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You need to be present. Look him in the eyes, but not like you're asking, like you're meeting. Stand or sit with relaxed posture, like your body's not begging for approval, but resting in its own worth. Stillness, that's your secret weapon. Let your energy fill the space instead of your voice rushing to cover it. Because when you say something meaningful and then hold the silence afterward, that's when it lands. Let's stop calling it confidence. Let's start calling it inner congruence. And your body and your words, they need to speak the same language. Because when they do, he doesn't just hear you, he feels you. And next, we're diving into when to drop the phrase, because too early, it's pressure. Too late, it's a missed opportunity. But when you time it just right, you don't just speak to his mind, you awaken his attention. Stay with me. This is where precision meets power. Number 5, timing is sacred. Don't shoot too soon. A wise woman waits for the window, not the applause. Remember that one, my friends, because in the world of real connection, timing is everything. You could have the perfect words, the calmest energy, the most magnetic presence, but if you drop you and me too early, it won't land like a spark. It'll hit like a sales pitch, and nothing kills chemistry faster than feeling sold to. Say it too soon, he feels pressure. Say it too often, he stops feeling anything. This isn't just about what you say, it's when you say it. That moment of natural flow, when the energy's light, the conversation's effortless, and he's laughing, leaning in, opening up, that's your window. That's when you slide it in like it's the most obvious thing in the world. Not forced, not planned, just dropped like a subtle bomb. Picture it, you're mid-conversation, he's talking about his favorite street taco spot. You nod, smile, and say, "You and me should hit that place, see if it lives up to the hype." Just like that, you've shifted the tone, suggested togetherness, painted a picture, but here's the secret. You didn't ask, you declared, and then you let it go. Attraction isn't loud, it's a whisper that echoes. It's not a push, it's a nudge. Most women try to hold a man's attention like gripping sand, tight, anxious, desperate. But the woman who knows her power, she plants a seed and walks away, and let him water it. Let it echo in his mind when he's alone later. That moment you shared wasn't loud, but it lingered, it stayed. That's impact. So trust the pause, trust the moment. You don't have to strike fast to be effective. You don't need to rush the fire. You just need to know where the spark belongs and when. And coming up next, we're going to get into the real reason why you and me hits deeper than logic can explain. It's not just casual, it's symbolic. You're about to learn how 3 simple words unlock something ancient in the male psyche. Stay with me, because now we're tapping into myth, memory, and number 6, the unconscious doesn't speak English, it speaks image. Now that, my friends, is where the real power lives. Because when you say you and me, you're not delivering a sentence. You're planting a symbol. And symbols, they bypass logic. They skip the mental debate. They slip right into the bloodstream of memory. Carl Jung didn't just study the mind, he mapped the myth inside it, and he knew this: the unconscious is always awake, always watching, always feeling. It doesn't respond to checklists or clever lines, it responds to emotion and imagination. So when you speak in pictures and suggestions and emotional echoes, you're speaking the language of the soul. You and me isn't about now. It's about what could be. It's not a statement, it's a scene. It says, here's a little glimpse of you and me together, not in some over-the-top dramatic fantasy, but in a real grounded way, like two people sharing tacos on a Sunday or arguing over playlists in the car. You're not seducing him, but you're reminding him of connection, of partnership, of belonging. Imagine tossing a pebble into a still lake. No splash, no chaos, just ripples, subtle, slow, deep. That's what a symbolic phrase like this does. It ripples. You plant it today and tomorrow, and he's driving to work, mind drifting, and suddenly he hears your voice. You and me would make a dangerous team. And he smiles. He doesn't know why. He doesn't question it. He just feels it. That's not manipulation. That's meaning. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to explain the impact. If he felt it, you won't have to say it again. This is the kind of woman who doesn't just leave an impression. She leaves a myth. The kind that lives just beneath the surface of his thoughts, showing up in quiet moments, in still hours when no one's watching. So don't chase after reactions. Don't look for instant validation. Speak like someone who knows how powerful her presence is, especially when it lingers. And up next, we're heading into the most overlooked strategy of all, the silence that comes after, because what you don't say might just be the loudest thing he remembers. Stay with me, because this next part, it's where the magic breathes. Number 7, let the silence work for you. If you drop the line and wait for applause, you miss the point. Let that one settle in your chest, my friends, and because this next part, it separates the ones who try from the ones who land. See, saying the right words is only half the game. The other half is what you do after. And most women get this wrong. They drop the phrase, you and me, and then stare at him, waiting for a reaction, like a student waiting for a grade. You can feel the energy shift, but not in a good way. Because what does that say? I need you to validate this moment. I need your approval to feel okay about what I just said. But the woman who knows her power, she plays it different. She drops the line, smiles, and keeps it moving. That's the drop it and walk strategy. Say it like it's casual, like it just came to you, like it's the most natural thing in the world. And then you leave it alone. Why? Because real feminine energy is not in the chase. It's in the pull, the stillness, the presence, the mystery. You don't plant a seed and then yell at it to grow. You don't dig it up every 5 minutes to check if it's sprouted. You let it rest. You let it do its quiet work in the dark. And the same goes for this phrase. Say it once. Say it with calm. Say it with a knowing smile that says, I don't need a reaction. I already know it landed. That kind of confidence, it's rare, it's felt. It tells him something without you saying a word. It says, I don't need your attention. I trust my impact. Because here's the truth. Silence is seductive. It gives space for him to step into the energy, to chase the thought, to remember your words on his own terms. And when a man remembers on his own, that's when the real bond starts forming. That's when it stops being words and starts becoming a feeling. So trust the echo, let it ring, and don't over-explain, don't repeat, don't stare him down. Speak, smile, walk, and let the silence do what noise never could. And now we're stepping into something even more tangible, the part of him that builds, shapes, creates, because when you learn how to touch his hands, not just physically, but symbolically, you won't just connect. You'll be etched in his memory. And stay with me. Number 8, these words don't just change his mind, they change yours. When you start speaking with this kind of energy, you don't just become unforgettable to him, you become unforgettable to yourself. Now, that's the truth most people miss, my friends, because yes, you and me can leave a man thinking about you for days. It can echo in his mind, create a spark he didn't see coming, make you linger in rooms you're no longer in. But let's pull the lens back now. Let's go full circle. This isn't just about him. This is about you. It's about how you walk, how you speak, how you own your space without needing to fill every silence or seek every yes. When you use this phrase, when you say it with clarity, with elegance, with that quiet certainty that doesn't ask for approval, you're not just inviting him into a moment. You're declaring something to yourself. I don't need to be chosen. I am the choice. Let that sink in. Because this whole time it was never about chasing a man. It was about returning to your center. It was about reclaiming your voice, not the one that asks, hopes, or waits, but the one that knows, the one that speaks from grounded power, from self-trust, from a place so still, so rooted that even when your words are few, they land like thunder. You don't say you and me because you're fishing for attention. You say it because you're a storyteller, a mirror, a woman who paints in symbols, not strategies. You create connection, not by performance, but by presence. So from this day forward, don't use your words to chase a man. Use them to reflect a woman who already knows she's the catch. Because when you speak with that kind of energy, you don't have to be remembered. You already are. And if something in you lit up during this journey, if this stirred something deeper than just flirting and tips, then press that like button. Hit subscribe, not just for more content, but for more clarity. Because we're not here for surface games, we're here for soul-level shifts. And I promise you, when you walk through the world like this, you don't just attract love, you become it. Stay grounded, stay glowing, and I'll see you in the next one.